Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to another Foundation Friday for over 50s. Yep, we're still doing Foundation Friday here because we have yet to find more than one holy grail and a handful of foundations that really work well for older, more mature, less than perfect skin. Today we're going to take a look at Revlon ColorStay makeup. Now the reason I have two is because this comes in two different formulations. This one is for combo to oily skin and this one is for normal to dry skin. I've heard that they've both been reformulated this year. I believe the reformulation is really just that they both contain sunscreen now, and it's a all mineral sunscreen. So they put in some titanium dioxide and some zinc oxide, which are my favorite kind of sunscreens anyway, that don't irritate my skin. But it's funny, they gave this one the combo to oily, an SPF of 15, and they give this one the normal to dry, an SPF of 20. Why they wouldn't put in the same in both, I don't get. According to Revlon, this is a flawless matte medium to full coverage foundation. It's oil-free and it contains salicylic acid to help balance skin. The normal to dry formula is a flawless demi-matte coverage that lasts up to 24 hours. It is also oil-free, but it contains hyaluronic acid to hydrate skin over time. They're both basically silicone and water mixtures. They each have a couple of plant extracts in there, and even though it doesn't list fragrance as a separate ingredient on the label, they both are fragranced. I could smell both of them. This one seemed to be more fragrant to me than the dry to normal one, and this one also does contain some SD alcohol. The combo to oily skin formula comes in 22 different shades, while the normal to dry only comes in 13. Wah, wah, for us older people. Here are the swatches on these. The one for combo to oily skin is in 300 golden beige, and the one for normal to dry skin is in 250 fresh beige. They always came in a nice heavyweight glass bottle, but now they all come with a pump dispenser, which is awesome. I hate the ones where you have to pour it out. The first day that I used it, I used the combo to oily formula. I had used a chemical sunscreen. I put it on with my fingers with no primer and no setting powder. The application was slightly smeary with the fingers and a little uneven, but overall I felt like it looked pretty nice, especially from a distance. One pump gave sheer to medium coverage that definitely needed concealer, but I liked how it looked. It didn't settle into pores or make them look bigger. This gave a soft satin finish that, even though it's supposed to be full-on matte, it really wasn't a full matte. But it did make my chin immediately break out in these itchy, blotchy hives that didn't really improve throughout the day. I felt like it was definitely a nice looking foundation, especially from a distance. Up close, it looked just fine. It didn't really do anything to smooth over my pores or wrinkles, but it didn't settle into them either. At the 5-hour check-in, I came back and from a distance I was like, wow, this stuff is awesome. Look at the wear on this. I've tried so many foundations that I come back at 5 hours and they are completely worn off, or my nose looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And this one with no primer, it was barely worn off at all. So I was really, really happy with it. It wasn't really getting too shiny. It was a little bit more glowy in my T-zone. It didn't look overly shiny. It didn't make me want to blot or powder. But unfortunately, there was a little micro cracking in some areas, especially on the lower part of my face. So I usually come back for a 10-hour check-in, but that day I was late, and so this is after 11 hours of wear. It's worn off a little bit more and getting a little bit patchy, but overall from a distance, it still looks pretty good. For the entire 11 hours, it didn't settle into my pores and it didn't settle into wrinkles. With the exception of the breaking out in hives on the lower part of my chin and kind of breaking up on the surface a little bit, looking a little cracked down here, it really did have great wear and everything, so I was psyched about it. I thought, oh, this is going to be an easy fix. I'll use a moisturizing primer and it will solve all the problems, and it will in fact be the holy grail from the drugstore. Well, au contraire Pierre, was I ever wrong. I used a new sunscreen that I was testing. It was the Dr. Weil for Origins Mineral Sunscreen. I really like this sunscreen on its own, but I hate it under makeup. On top of that, I used the NYX Hydra Touch Primer to add a little bit of moisture back into my skin and applied with a blending sponge. That heavy, shiny base just was not a good foundation for the foundation. It sat right on top and it looked really masky, definitely gave me fuller coverage, but it also settled right into wrinkles. And unfortunately, the addition of those other products didn't keep it from being drying around my chin. It just was not comfortable to wear. I did like it a lot from, you know, here up. So I decided, even though I had reviewed it already, that I would go out and pick up the Normal to Dry formula. I gave this one a try on its own on my whole face. I used the hydropeptide sunscreen underneath. I gave it a spritz with the Boscia White Charcoal Mattifying Makeup Setting Spray and used a sponge. And it went on much, much better than it did over the other mineral sunscreen. So from a distance, it looked really good. It looked smooth and it had a nice skin-like finish, and it was very flattering. From up close, you could see that on the surface it was slightly broken up, but overall it was much, much more comfortable to wear. At the 5-hour check-in, I was impressed again at how long wearing this was. It still looked really good from up close and from a distance. It was only a little bit worn off around the edges of my nose, and it hadn't been drying and itchy to wear. So for me, it was a vast improvement over the formula that's for combo to oily skin. And at the 10-hour check-in, it looked really good still. It was more worn off than the other formula was at this point in the day, but other than that, I thought it still looked really good for 10 hours. I did try this one on a 5th day with yet another sunscreen. Again, a mineral sunscreen, but that I thought it might play well with. It didn't. I tried to apply it with 2 different brushes just to see how they went on with the brush. The brush really left it kind of patchy and smeary. Today I have them both on together, so I have this one on the lower half of my face and I have this one on the upper half of my face. So in order to help it to work successfully today for the video, I went back to the ISDIN chemical sunscreen, and on top of that I used a spritz of the Smashbox primer water, and that seemed to work pretty well as far as setting it up with a nice thin surface layer to adhere to. And the makeup went on much smoother. I did use the sponge again today. And let's go ahead and do the phone test. So here is my sparkling clean phone glass. Not sparkling clean anymore. Wow. And of course the flash photography test. So my takeaway from both of these is that while they can be really good, long-lasting foundations with a really nice finish that look really good from a distance, it all depends on what your kind of skincare routine is that you use underneath it. I had great success with both of them when I used a chemical sunscreen underneath, which is what most of the people on the planet use. I know a lot of people don't even wear sunscreen every day, even though I'm always telling you to do it. You don't listen to me. No, if I could only be there to put it on you in the morning, I would. But unfortunately, it just did not work well with thicker sunscreens or with thicker primers. If you're looking for a long-wearing, semi-matte foundation from the drugstore, these could really fit the bill. I feel like these are very, very good. They're going kind of towards the top of the list. If you'd like to see where this ranks on the list of all the foundations that I have ever tested, I'll put the link to the list in the information box below the video, as well as a link to my video on my top 5 picks for the best drugstore foundations. I'll also put the link to that right up here. So you can click over to that video, and I'll include the link for my top 5 high-end foundations as well, because that is where my Holy Grail foundation lives. It is the Chanel Perfection Lumiere Velvet. This fulfills all of my wishes and dreams, all of my wildest dreams for a foundation for mature skin. And so the search continues for another Holy Grail. Sadly, it was not the Revlon ColorStay products, but they're not bad. So I hope you found the video helpful and informative. I thank you for your time as always. So take care everybody and have a great day. Bye-bye.